to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Before I start the show, let's chat a little bit about Las Vegas, shall we? Are you going? If the answer is yes, you need to please consider joining me for my one-day, insanely jam-packed, guaranteed to blow your mind and jumpstart your interior design business Power Talk Friday tour. It will take place on Saturday, July 27th, 2019, the day before market opens. This one-day coaching event, which is sponsored by Revel Woods and My Doma Studio, is a chance to work with me one-on-one, with my husband Vin one-on-one, with my cousin Eileen one-on-one, with my business coach Nancy Gansicow for one-on-one, and Stacy McKenna one-on-one, the systems pro at My Doma Studio. Limited to 15 designers, this event, I promise you, is worth every penny. If you are in business 2 years, 7 years, 20 years, or 20 minutes, if you need a jolt, a booster shot, a push to get clear, to get organized, and to finally get profitable, this day is for you. We're going to meet from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5:30 at night, and we're going to teach you, we're going to talk with you, answer your real-life individual questions. Then we're going to meet again at 8 o'clock that night, and we're going to have a celebration dinner. We're going to relax, we're going to whine, not crybaby whining, Pinot Noir whining. We're going to laugh, and we're going to reflect on the day and all that we've learned and the new friendships and connections we've made. So, are you going to pass this up? I sure hope not. I hope you will invest in yourself, in your business, in your future, and I hope you will join me in Las Vegas. Now, all you have to do is think to yourself, if I participate in this, will I close one more project this year that I might not have? And if the answer is yes, then you need to be with us. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm telling you the answer is yes. I know that. I've got these 4 insanely talented business coaches with me. And I guarantee you, between one of the 5 of us, you're going to get that idea. You're going to get that moment of, I get it. This is what I need to do next in my business. Okay? I'm pretty confident about that. You can call me out on it. You definitely can. All right? So head over to powertalkfriday.com and grab your seat. Okay? powertalkfriday.com. I cannot wait to see you there. All right. On the show today, I have Jared Hughes from Atlanta. And as you might expect, being from Atlanta, he's a charmer and a truly sweet man. We have a great conversation about how he has built not only a solid interior design business, but he's built a reputation and he's gained recognition within the design industry as a talented designer, as somebody who's already known, even though his firm is only under 3 years old. The thing is, Jared opened his firm after 10 years experience in residential design, as well as event and floral design. He was working for others, but this experience definitely has allowed him to hit the ground running. He's producing projects that are timeless, classic, and they have an unexpected twist, which I think you're going to enjoy. And you'll hear the beginning of the conversation. I give a lot of attention to his website and his Instagram. Please be sure to check those out. You're really going to, I think, enjoy seeing this new way of being true to yourself. That's exactly what it is, and you'll hear it in the conversation. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, Jared. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
How are you doing?
I am terrific, thank you. And I'm so grateful that our mutual friend, Chad James, suggested that I reach out and ask you if you are interested in being on the show. And we were very thrilled. We were doing our happy dance over here when you said yes.
Well, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very glad that Chad thinks highly enough of me to recommend me.
Definitely, definitely. And so the thing is, when he did recommend me to you, of course, what do? I go over to your Instagram and I check it all out. And then I go to your website and I check it all out. And here's a couple of things that strike me that I think we're going to pick apart a little bit in this interview, Jared. The first thing is that what was so noticeable is your website and your Instagram are, I mean, quite literally beautiful and different from most of what we're seeing in design now. Now, interestingly, I have recently interviewed a lot of designers. It's so crazy that are using a lot of color. I'm thinking of Courtney McLeod. There's a couple of others. But the point is that it's there's a warmth in your Instagram, Jared, and it's also happening on your website. You with the graphics, the designs that you put around the pictures almost look like they're penciled in with colored pencil. It's very it's not expected in what's happening in Instagram now, but I think it's really, really something else. Tell me about what it is and how come you are so comfortable and confident to present your work in this way that is a little against the grain right now.
Well, first of all, thank you for saying such nice things about my social media and website. Um, I think that I feel very good about displaying my work the way it is because it's an accurate representation of myself. It's a good reflection of my personal style. It's a good reflection of, the values that I have as a Southern man and, paying homage to, past styles and past design references. And, it's just something that I never want to feel like I'm doing exactly what everything is doing. I want things to reflect me. I want things to reflect my clients. I want things to reflect, what people are happy seeing. And I've just, realized as I've been, working my way through the design industry that people really relate to warmth and color and antiques and things that they, feel like they grew up with and things that are welcoming and homey feeling to them. And that's exactly what I want. I want people to feel like things that I'm working on for them are telling a story.
Mm.
And I want little things to play representative with them. And that was a crucial element in working on parts of my website where there were little graphics that are literally hand drawn on paper in watercolor and then
Yeah.
transferred onto the website to mimic and mirror the images and the styles and the design aspects of the individual things that are on the website. So I think it's just something that was kind of an idea that I played with that was something that gave an entire feel of what I want to give to clients and I want people to feel that they're going to get from me.
Mm. Well, I have to say, I love those little images, those drawings that you put around. It really, I cannot. It's so funny because I think that it's hard for me to describe that it was a very significant reaction to it. Like I'm not overestimating it. I really was like, this is so nice. Like it really was. I was like, I just feel it instantly. Like we have Fred Burns that always says, what's your only? And I just thought, here's a very great example of an only. And the only that we talk about is what makes you different. What makes you stand out? Because of course we do have a lot of the Southern designers that are not afraid of color, right? So I'm thinking of Madcap Cottage, and we've got Chad James, of course, himself, and Eric Ross. So it sort of is a Southern sentimentality, right? But it still was different. It was your you, and it really comes across. And then it's funny because I just recently gave a presentation at the IWCE, the International Window Covering Expo in Nashville, and we talked about how do you attract your ideal client to you, and how do you put yourself out there, and how do you attract the luxury client. And I've said to everybody, the thing about it is that first it all has to line up. You can't say, well, I've got my Instagram down, but I haven't done my website yet, or I've got my website done but my Instagram isn't working for isn't representative of me yet. Because a client is going to come and they are going to check both platforms, just like I did. And your two platforms marry so well together. They really do.
Yeah, it was a lot of you know, the and you view his Instagram, it's Hayden Paints, and he's somebody who has aggressively helped me with my website because he is a decorative painter and a faux finisher and a great artist. And I wanted to take elements from my design that I really like. There's a lot of repetitive themes that you'll see in my design, lots of chinoiserie moments, some Greek key elements, some pretty
Mm.
different border, respective elements. And it's things that you can see through my different designs that I know work, and things that I'm attracted to, and things that I want people to be attracted to me because of. And we really took those kind of working on my website and did them in almost a playful way. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to ever take design too seriously. There are rules of design that are adhered to by so many people, and I have a lot of respect for those rules, but I also take everything on a case by case basis. And so I wanted things to just feel representative of me, but also feel fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my shtick is, classical and traditional design with like a fun, youthful approach to it.
You nail it. That's exactly it. You've just nailed it on the head, because that's exactly what comes through. The Instagram, you have a terrific balance of showing your work, but showing the fun that you have living your life. Here were the adjectives that I wrote down when I was looking at your Instagram: colors, quality, friendship, travel, fun.
Oh,
Those were the
100%.
That's
hundred
exactly,
percent.
those are the words that I have written on my notes for your Instagram. And then what I'm loving, and this is the big point that I'm making, and I think this is the little lesson in here, for every designer listening that has ever said, I'm not sure what my only is and how do I differentiate myself. The thing is, I was reading, scrolling your Instagram, and those were the words I wrote: colors, quality, friendship, travel, fun. Okay. Then I went to your website, and the website, because of exactly what you just said, those elements that you put in, those drawings of the Greek key and those drawings of the different things, it brought that level of fun to that too, but it did not negate color, quality, travel, things like that. So, my goodness, you have identified your brand for yourself, and you express it so authentically. It's amazing. And this is the thing I love about it, is that sometimes we fool ourselves that we're looking for this big, deep only. And your only is this, traditional, antique, aesthetic, quality, but you have some playful fun with it, and you nail it. You absolutely nail it. Awesome. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really cool. And I took a lot of time in that part, because if you are listening out there and you are having a hard time identifying something about yourself, take a look at Jared's website and his Instagram, and just think on it. Not, not because you can't copy it because it's not you, but you'll see that your only is something unique to you and you're letting your personality come through. But what's funny, because Jared, we have sometimes on the show, and I say it often enough, sometimes a designer will comment on my Instagram, and if I don't know the name, if it feels like a new follower, a new commenter for me, I will take the time to go over and look at their page and their Instagram feed. And yours does there are some designers that believe that there's no personal that goes on the Facebook, on the Instagram feed, and you know what, whatever, I'm not going to debate that. I mean, like Lori Paranjape just said in a keynote in Nashville at the IWCE, I view my Instagram feed as the front door and the stories as the party in the back. Right? And so,
Yeah.
right, so that's what she does, but you are mixing it a tiny bit to let your personality and your playfulness and your friendships come through. And the thing about it is it's a great lesson in there to look at your feed and see that blend, because there are times where I will go to a designer's Instagram feed and I've got to go one or two grids of the block of 9 before I finally find, some design memos or something, and it's like the picture of the dog and the kids and the skating and the sunset, and I'm just like, okay, is this a personal account or a business account? I can't tell. Right.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's something that like I definitely, I'm glad you picked up on that, because I do want like hints of my personal life to be on my feed for people to see permanently and on a regular basis, because you know you're you're hiring a designer, and when you're getting into bed with a designer, for the lack of a better word,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you almost need to know what you're getting into, because you are on these full scale projects. I spend i spend more hours a week with some of these clients than I do by myself,
Right.
and it's one of those things that like they need to know who you are personally, and I feel like it's just a better reflection of your brand. It makes you
Mm-hmm.
more relatable.
Mm-hmm.
I hate going to some of these designers accounts and seeing only pictures of their work and not knowing what they look like or what they do, and everything being so zipped up and buttoned up and professional, and it's just like, I don't want to attract the clients that are attracted to that, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not who I want to work with.
Right. And that's what's really awesome about what you've done, is because the other approach is not wrong. It's just not right for you. And
A
that's
hundred
what's
percent.
so cool, is that you're willing to say, that's not right for me. This is how I want to do it. But you do have a terrific blend of the professional with the letting us get a sense of your personality. There's no question that your personality comes through, that you're fun. It's just, it's not possible to watch your feed and not feel like you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
good for you. Good for you. Now I have a question for you.
Yeah.
My friend Elle Wolf, she's a designer in the Atlanta area. And I remember Elle one time, this is, oh my goodness, about a year ago, in a Facebook group, she was saying how she actually prefers the mid-century modern type of design. And Elle, if I'm labeling the exact design wrong, please forgive me. But she just was like, she said, I'm in Atlanta. In Atlanta, people want, the antiques and the whole layers. And she said that it's been a tough, frustrating journey for her, because that doesn't feel like for her. And she says that the clients aren't as much there in that area. So what do you say, Lan? You're in it and you're attracting it and the way you want and the way she sees the South. But what do you say about that? Is there a market there for that more clean?
There is totally a market for that here.
Okay, so
Atlanta,
she's just got to figure it out, right?
100%.
Okay.
Atlanta is one of the most neighborhoody cities that
Mm.
I've ever been in. And
Mm-hmm.
the neighborhoods are built around the style of people that live there
Mm.
and the style of architecture. And that's 100% accurate.
Okay.
If you choose to live in Buckhead, in a large 1920s home, which 1920s is very old for Atlanta. We have to remember Atlanta was, burned to the ground,
Right, right, right.
and it didn't get rebuilt for a while. 19 Anything from 1900 to 1920s is very old for Atlanta.
Mm, mm,
And so if you live in one of those homes that have these classical architecture architects who worked on these homes, you're decorating a certain type of way because
mm.
people are attracted to that. And if you're living in the Old Fourth Ward here, you're living in more of a loft style situation. If you're living in Decatur, which was a suburb of Atlanta that's, its own kind of independent city now, it's all kinds of like great ranch style homes that are very mid-century.
Mm.
And I think it's just the area of town. And also, like, so I live in Ansley Park, which is the oldest neighborhood in Atlanta. It was the first neighborhood in Atlanta that was designed to have cars driven through, super wide streets, very old homes. I live in a home that was built in 1908 was when it was started. Very
Mm.
old for Atlanta. And but literally 2 blocks from me is Midtown, and it's all high rises. I mean, 2 blocks, literally 2 blocks from me.
Wow.
I walk from being in a park to being in high rises. It's like if you were in Central Park with houses floating through Central Park, walking then over onto Fifth Avenue and having all of the, pre-war kind of mid-rises followed by the high rises that have been added in.
Right,
It's very much like that. And so you go from neighborhood to neighborhood and people are honestly decorating differently.
right.
The Four Seasons is right on the edge here, and I see condos in the Four Seasons being decorated very much more traditionally. I see condos in the Four Seasons being decorated more mid-century, more contemporary, more clean. And then you go into these very much more contemporary buildings that are all steel, all glass, that are, some have curved walls and they're being decorated differently. But I think the majority of the people who are spending a lot of money in Atlanta still want that southern, layered, heavy, traditional feel, but 100% there is a market for every kind of decor in the city. It's such a big city.
Mm. Well, and I mean, to be fair, I'm sure Elle is finding her way. And I just remember, and it was more like it's a little tougher here. You know what I mean? But the Elle
Yeah.
has such a beautiful transitional vibe, and she very clean and but with color. She actually does color. One of the things that she does really well is she will do posts on Instagram that mix fashion and design. And oh my goodness, she's got such a beautiful eye. She really does. So I
Yeah.
just was thinking about it since,
No,
yeah.
I'm 100% sure she's finding her way. I could
Mhm.
see that people who are new to this market are intimidated by the fact that most people who are reaching out to designers initially are probably looking for a different aesthetic than
Mhm.
more of the mid-century clean. But
Mhm.
100%. It's like I said, my biggest client. I don't know if I had mentioned that my biggest clients from Switzerland,
Mm.
and they are very clean, very contemporary. And
Oh,
just know
right.
it's not my aesthetic, but they also have a very high appreciation for true antiques, so mid-century antiques. And so they recognize that I have a very much appreciation for quality, like you said, for my Instagram. And it's been, a learning curve and an experience decorating differently than I usually do, but it's still the fundamental basics. So,
Right.
there's little niche markets here for every kind of taste.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good, very good. So let's move to this because this was the other thing that impressed me. So I told you that it was the actual coming of your personality and the quality and your vision coming through on both platforms and them supporting each other so well and so nicely. And then the other thing I would have to say that really stuck out to me is that in the last 2 years, you have so many accomplishments. You've been, new traditional, new trad from Traditional Home Magazine, next wave designer from House Beautiful. You're in the Southern Style Now show house. There was a couple other show houses and a couple other accolades, and 14,000 followers on Instagram. And your firm is really 2.5, 3 years old here. So what the heck is going on? How do you come out of the gate? I know that you've been in the design for more years than that, but you are in your own firm 2 years. How does somebody do this in 2 short years, Jared?
I think the biggest thing is honestly networking. I think it's very important to there are a lot of people in this industry and a lot of people in other cities feel different than this, that you can't rely on other designers to help you. and other people in the industry to help you. But, I grew up in the South. Here in Atlanta, we're friendly for the most part. The design community here, we support each other and we help each other. And people find that fascinating and bizarre. But I think we've just all realized there's enough, business for all of us. But that being said, I think it's the networking aspect of it. It is, building friendships with people via Instagram. And it's not one of those things where you're reaching out to people to use them. It's a honestly getting to know people, and getting to know people who have experience in this community can direct you into somebody else who knows somebody. And it's just one of those, let your talent speak for itself, let your passion, your creativity, your desire speak for itself, and just put yourself in front of people continually over and over again who want to help you succeed. And
Oh,
I think it's very important to, at ADAC here in Atlanta, be present at ADAC, be present at the D&D, be present at whatever design center is. Go to the conferences, go to the showroom events, go to things. There's going to be somebody there who you haven't met who might have some advice for you. And for the most part, I find that people are nice. People, and it's like one of those things I constantly hear how people are not nice anymore. And it's just one of those things that, like, if you are a genuine human and present yourself before people, they're going to respect that.
mm, mm,
And, you have to be humble sometimes. You have to be humble and say, I am very new to this. I'm
mhm,
very new to this. This is what I am, and this is what I have to offer. And this is what I would like to do.
right.
And when you present yourself like that, people are going to be like relatable to that, because nobody was just born into being a famous, well respected, full book of business designer or decorator.
No,
Nobody was.
right,
Nobody was.
right.
Everybody has had to build that and get somewhere. And if you are respectful and, come in at the building the business from the ground up, people are going to want to, like, give you advice and take that advice. I mean, that's my biggest thing. Take that advice and let them help you. But
Mm.
it's really all about networking.
I love that last part right there. Take the advice and let them help you, because so often we will receive a good tip or a piece of advice and we either A, think, oh, that won't work for me, or B, we really just don't put it into action. That we think about it and we say, oh, it was easier for them, or would have it worked out different for them. But you have to not only put yourself out there to be present to hear the advice and hear the lesson, you have to act on it, right?
Oh, 100%. Like, I mean, I can hear things all day long, but unless I actually take heed of what was told to me,
Mhm.
nothing's going to happen. It's not
Mhm.
like osmosis, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't exist. I
Right.
mean, you can't just, like, learn things through hearing people talk. You have to implement what
Mhm.
they've done. I mean, there's a lot of replication, my contracts, my design, my business setup, and how I interact and handle clients is all based off of my friends who are also decorators and
Right.
designers. And they've been doing this so much longer than me. They've had the trial and errors, and obviously I'm going to have the trial and errors and learn from that as well. But you eh, having some humble moments is really important.
Right. Well, and it's interesting that you said that it's a combination of talking with your friends and everything, because when I mentioned I was recently in Nashville and we had dinner and there was about 8 of us there, and Chad James, Lori Pranjape, Eric Ross, Jana Phipps, and myself, my husband, and Kim. And those guys, oh, and Eric's wife, Ruth Ann was there as well. And those guys, literally, it was hysterical watching these very successful, very seasoned interior designers going back and forth for like an hour and 45 minutes on how do you do that and what did you say with that and oh my goodness and what happened then. I mean, it was the baby designers think that the rest of us, the more seasoned designers, have it figured out, but they're always growing, learning, gathering in person, just like that, networking, to your point, and learning from each other and picking each other's brains, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I don't think you should ever stop learning. I think it's it's a weird day if there's something that if it's a weird day if there's a time that I don't learn something, because
Right.
I want to absorb what works for other people and test it out, see if it works for me. And it's, just an implementation process. And no, I don't think you should ever stop learning. I
Right.
think if you feel like you need to stop learning, it's time to die.
Exactly. Now, Jared, you don't strike me as somebody that is uncomfortable or introverted. But I've learned that sometimes I'm surprised. So, would you consider yourself introverted or are you an extrovert?
I'm 100% an extrovert. I
Okay. Okay.
mean,
That's the impression I
I
get. Yeah.
I I 100% do value my own time, and I take my own time to recharge when I need it, but
Mhm.
95% of the time I am better with people, better out in a public setting, better interacting with clients. It's I like talking to people and learning from other people and experiencing things with people. And it's something that I have zero shame in saying. I'm better around other people.
Right. 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 Okay.
I
So,
have, but like I have no problem being alone,
right.
and that's something that I had to learn to accept, is that it's okay to spend some time alone, and I need that to recharge, but that's not the main essence
Right.
of my being by any mean.
Well, and the only reason I brought it up is because, I'm also an extrovert. Somebody might have noticed that. I'm not sure, but I definitely am too. But the thing about it is that what I have been surprised, there are some designers that I've known for a long time before them sharing with me, well, I'm actually really very introverted. And so I don't assume anymore, is my point. But where I was going in that is, to your point, and so much, look, you have to be talented. When I say so much success in 2 years, you have to actually be able to design at the level that you are designing it. And so that goes without saying. You're not, you know testing out your design theories in your friend's guest room's basement or something. You've got a very strong aesthetic and talent already established. But my point is that so many designers, surprisingly, Jared, are introverted. And I thought that has been one of my biggest surprises in doing the podcast, is to find that a profession where you have to insert yourself into someone's home and life, that there are so many people that are introverted. And so, knowing that that's the case, to say to them, you've got to go to events, you've got to put yourself out there. It's different for people like you and I. That I mean, you're probably exactly like me. I would walk into a 600,000 people in a stadium, and they said, "Well, you've got to go talk to them, Luann, because they're all upset because the water isn't coming or the show isn't going to start." I'd be like, "All right, give me the mic. What are we going to talk about, right?"
A hundred
So, but
percent.
right, but there's other people that are uncomfortable to simply walk into that showroom experience where there might be a talk or a panel going on. And so that's a challenge when one of your number one things is to be out and be present. Can you think of ways that you do it in a more quiet or a more one-on-one way that we could share with the designers listening, that maybe could help them if they're not inclined to walk into a showroom and just be part of whatever event is happening?
Yeah, so two things. I have a lot of friends who are designers, and I think, probably about half of them are introverts. And
Mhm.
I think what they have done to make sure that their business grows, whether they've done it on purpose or not, but it's something that I've noticed, is hire an extrovert.
Good point.
And I think that there are a lot of huge design firm businesses that are the way they are because of an employee, not because of the name on the door.
Mm,
And that does not mean that the talent lies with that person,
right.
but somebody who doesn't have their own PR embodiment, if that
Right.
makes sense. Somebody
Right.
who I don't have a PR person. I do my own PR because I'm not afraid to talk to anybody.
Right.
And so somebody who doesn't have that, they need to hire an employee who can break the ice, break the ground, get
Mm,
in and really talk to people, because I found that a lot of introverts, it's really just getting that initial step in to make themselves feel comfortable. And
mhm.
I've seen it a lot. And it's a lot of assistants who are hired younger and who are very chatty, who are, talented on their own.
Hmm.
But it's one of those things that, you take your person with you to these events, and they are the ones who just start talking to people and doing the networking for you.
Right. And then
And
they introduce you and
and
so
then they
forth.
introduce you, and then you're the name behind the door, and people recognize that, and then people feel a little more comfortable talking once that, there's some, level of
Introduction.
appreciation and an introduction
Right,
established.
right, right,
And
right.
then the other thing that I think is important is, going to these events, talk to the showroom managers, talk to the people who
Great
are
point.
hosting, talk to the people who are hosting the events, because they're there to encourage what the event is for. The
Mhm.
networking or the learning about the product. They're there to do that. They're not there to be another designer who you might feel uncomfortable talking to because they're so established, or because you worry they're going to be judging your work or anything like that. Those people are, the owners of the showroom. They're essentially your client, because they're there to give you money
Right,
in the end, because you're paying for a product that makes you money from them.
right.
They're almost a form of a client. And so it's one of those things, if you just talk to the manager of the showrooms, talk to the people putting on the event, they're not there. They're there to help you. That's
Right.
what they want to do. They want to help you build your business by helping them build their business.
That's an
And
awesome point. That's an awesome point. I have to say, I love that idea because if you're feeling a little nervous about going or just feeling like okay, Jared said to do this, but I don't have a slew of besties. I'm not going to I don't feel confident that when I walk into that next presentation at a showroom that I'm going to know anybody, that you could email the showroom manager ahead of time and say, either I would like to set up an account when I'm there, or I have an account, I heard about this event. And just that little interaction, so that when you walk in the door, if even it's just the showroom manager that welcomes you and says, oh, hi, I know you, we just communicated, la la la, it's like you said, it's that icebreaker.
yeah, know your point of contact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
Yeah,
love it. That's a great idea. That's such a great idea. I love that idea. That's it, because it's something you can do. And the point is that you are actually that manager's client. So that manager is invested in you
a
being
hundred percent.
happy in
Yeah,
this environment and wanting to
it
come back.
is. I mean, you just have to look at it as a mutually beneficial relationship. I look at it as, it's like you said, they are, you are their client and they are my client to some
Mm-hmm.
degree, because
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody who's giving me money in the end is a client, and
Mm-hmm.
they are, because that's, I'm selling their product onto somebody else. They're the
Mm-hmm.
middle person. They're a client, but they're not the end client.
Right, right, right,
And
right.
it's one of those, it's, reverse client situations, and it's the same way. Look at it as they're there to help you,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not another designer. I mean, a lot of people feel like designers in a group get catty and blah blah blah, and
I have not noticed that. I have not experienced that. I think that's an old stereotype. I'm just going to say, I really do.
I feel so. I think it's an old stereotype to some degree as well. But I think a lot of designers, especially when I talk to my friends who are designers in Dallas or designers in LA or San Francisco or New York, and I think that they seem to think it's alive and well,
Mm,
because they're so surprised how friendly the design community is with each other in
mhm,
Atlanta.
mhm. I think
So
that, but I think what people do as human nature, I think they have an experience and then they magnify it that it's happening everywhere. And so it's like if you have, like, for instance, the common one now is the millennials. Like their whole work ethic is completely different, whether it's good, bad, different, or whatever. And to me, look, I mean, what did people say when the Beatles came? Oh my God, they ruined music, right? I mean, like,
100%, yeah.
so I just feel like times change, generations change, but people are essentially people. And I think, I don't know, I have not noticed any of this so-called cattiness, but I also know I'm not a person to tolerate it either. So maybe it doesn't happen in my presence. And I mean,
Yeah.
I fully stand in that, because if you were in a group with me at a market or something and you want to start doing some gossiping, I'm either going to call you out if I know you, or I'm just going to get up and remove myself.
Yeah.
So I just think that I've not noticed it. And I think that what I'm noticing is that people are, I think also too with Facebook now, I think that's a difference. Facebook and Instagram. So maybe 15 years ago, when you went to a design showroom, you really didn't know your colleagues. And what it is it's not so much that designers were catty, but add to the mix that most are introverted, that they are coming into a situation that's unknown. They're looking at 20, 30, 40, 50 people that they really don't know. And you have your own tape playing in your head. Am I worth it? Is my work good? Do they know what my work looks like? Should I be here? And it's really I think 90% of it happens between your own ears. But now I think with Facebook and Instagram, so many times when designers get together, they feel like they already know each other. So we're friends meeting. We're not just strangers at a thing. I don't know. I just feel like it's much more warm and welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
you saying you're like, yeah, you're living in the like a pie in
No,
the
it's
sky.
not, and it's not like that everywhere, but I don't think that any kind of vibes that you're getting should make you feel like you shouldn't be communicating with anybody at these events. It's,
Right.
just be yourself. Just be
Right.
yourself.
Right. But this is the point of we started all this. So, we went down into the psychology thing here, but the whole point of it is that you really attribute these accolades that, of course, I can't even say the sentence without repeating. The work has to be impeccable before this happens. So you can do all the networking in the world that you want to do, and you can do all of the meeting of the influencers and the brands and your colleagues that you want. If somebody like Traditional Home says, oh, this guy's on everybody's, the tip of everybody's tongue, but they come and your work isn't good, it doesn't matter. So it's always a given that the work is good. But beyond that, Jared, you're saying that it really is intentionally trying to meet the people in the design community, meeting the editors, doing the show houses, and meeting the colleagues that this colleague knows that person and like Chad introduced us. That's what you're saying.
A
It's a
hundred
perfect
percent.
example, right? It's a
Yep.
perfect example.
A
Right.
100%.
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to give you any award for getting on the podcast. I hate to break your bubble.
No, but yeah,
But
no, it's 100%. That's 100% it. It's just, it's networking.
right. Because it's the truth. As adorable and as successful as you are, I had not heard of you. And Chad said to me, "You got to interview Jared." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Let me look him up." So, and that is the example of it, that you're out there in the community and you're getting known. So, how about this body of work that you have, Jared? So, where did you told me off air that you've worked for Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams, and you worked for their stores in Alabama, Georgia, and Texas, doing the visual and also as the in-house designer. And you also worked for Matthews Furniture Design under Don Easterling. And so these are some pedigree here. And is this where you would say you cut your teeth and you learned some good design principles? And was that a benefit in starting your business, having that 10, 12, 13-year career doing that first?
I think it's one of those, there's something about design that I think you're either born with it or you're not.
Mm.
You understand the relationship of scale and color and pattern and texture. But my first job in the design world was not even in interiors. I was a floral designer.
Mm.
I was the head floral designer for Bold American Events here in Atlanta. I worked for Mitchell Crosby in Charleston as a floral designer before that. And I think that the experimentation of color with flowers was something that really gave me a grounding for my more specific design aesthetic. I've always
Ah.
liked a lot of very traditional design elements. I grew up in a house that had antiques and mahogany and walnut and Chippendale and Queen Anne and wood. I grew up in a house that had wood pieces of furniture, and it's something that I saw. There was, wood pieces of furniture in both of my grandparents' house. I have pieces in my house that, came from my parents, from their, investment pieces, from antiques they'd found, from pieces they had inherited, from pieces from both sets of my grandparents and great
Mm.
grandparents. And, but I think that's not even the basis, because you can use antiques in stark ways, but I think that really the experimentation of color within flowers added to that. And I
Mm.
think that, maybe more or less the cutting of my teeth was with, the experiences that was more or less client interaction and,
Mm.
business sense and business ease and, wise moments of how to handle reactions from clients when things go wrong and, the day to day. I don't necessarily credit honed design skills to anybody but my own instincts,
Mm.
and that might sound pompous, but I have always been into how I've designed from a young age. My house was in Garden and Gun, and one of the biggest things that they focused on in my article was when I was in sixth grade, I redecorated my bedroom on my own. I painted the walls Chinese red. I made my great aunt, who essentially both my parents are in the medical field, doctors, and they, were not home as much. And my great aunt essentially was responsible. And I begged her to order these blue and white Chinese pieces from probably Oriental Trading at the time. I don't even know, like some catalog that came in the mail. And I found like a shoji screened lamp at some junk store that we were at. And like I redecorated my bedroom on my own in sixth grade with color and chinoiserie elements and
Whoa.
things that were not like in my parents' wheelhouse. They're very much like blue gray neutral people,
Right. So it's
with
in you.
the
It's
wood and the
in you.
antique.
This.
And
Yeah.
I think it's just in me. And
Hmm.
I don't want that to sound pompous, but I
No.
think that like artists and creatives know that when what's in them, it needs to come out.
Right. Right.
And but yeah, working for those people, and I think it is crucial to work for other people to learn how to handle the issues and the difficulties and the nightmares and the crazies that come through our industry, because something strange happens every day. And just being able to handle that, I think, is something that I learned more from working for and with other people than, honing my sense of taste and style. I think, that's come from, how I grew up, what's inside me, travel. I've traveled the world. I was very lucky to have parents who, drug me around the world as a child. I mean, by the time I graduated high school, had been, you know, in Asia, Europe, and, all over North and Central America.
Wow.
And it was, I'm very blessed to have had that. They took us everywhere. They traveled with us. I mean, I remember we went to Canada and Alaska. I think I was like in fourth grade or something, and we traveled
Mm.
all over Canada and Alaska. And my parents wanted to make sure that we were exposed to, other cultures, other elements, and see things. And I can't state the fact that I was blessed enough to experience that, but
Mm.
I think, the travel has influenced my design aesthetic a lot as well. But yeah, I think it's a combination of what's in you, what you see, and then working for other people to learn how to operate a business.
Right. And I see, and I think that's terrific. And it's, I don't feel like your response is pompous at all, because what I'm hearing you say is what you just ended up with saying, is that your design and the inspiration and the magic is coming from you. It's been there. It's always been there. And that comes from your life experiences as a human being in the particular family that you were planted in, right? This family that had antiques and had multi-generational furniture and had travel experience, but that you can look to see that the retail experience is a tremendous learning ground for that client interaction piece, right? That
A
learning to,
100%.
right? Yeah, I've had several designers on the show when I've said to them, what's like the number one thing you would tell a new designer starting out is make sure, and usually the answer is either work for a really good firm that's well run and stay there long enough to learn how to do the business side. And another answer often that comes up is work in a retail business, work in a retail
100%.
showroom or furniture showroom, because you really do have to learn that mix of the customer is always right and being able to be professional under pressure. And also, I remember, I want to say it was Candy Scott. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like it was Candy Scott that said the retail experience was that she now understood when she was running her business and her vendors would say, well, we really can't ship that this way. We can't do that. She'd be like, no, 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 no. See, I know that you can because I worked for
Oh,
a
a
place that she
hundred
did it
percent.
all the
A
time.
100%. You see
Mhm.
the behind the scenes
Right.
things.
So you
It's
get,
literally one of those, I have needed upholstery done in a quick turnaround, and they're like, "That's impossible for us to do." And I'm like, "You know what? Actually, I went to your factory tour when I worked there, and I watched you make a sofa from the pieces of wood and the fabric to finished product in one day,
right.
because I was there from 9 to 5, and a sofa was made from 9 to 5.
So
So if
it's
I give
possible. You're
it's
choosing not
possible.
to do it. That's what you're saying to me. You're choosing not to service me right now.
100%. And I think it's one of those, back to networking, it's building relationships with
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
as to what you can get away with and what you can't.
Right, 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 right. It's so good. So good. I love it. I have to tell you, I really, really enjoyed meeting you. I love that you are exactly the way I expected you to be from meeting you first on your social platform. And I just think it's awesome. You have such a tremendous, loving, warm vibe and personality. And I thank you so much for coming on this show and sharing your time with us today, Jared.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been, just a wonderful experience talking with you.
Alrighty, let's give some conversation here. I want to give some attention to this working for other people before you open your own interior design firm. Here's a couple of the reasons why I think that this is extremely valuable. You Number one, from a design standpoint, if you come out of school or you just decide to switch careers or you just decide you want to be an interior designer and you haven't gone the education route, either way, it's very valuable to work for another interior designer and really understand not only the back end of the business, but also that front end process, the repetition of over and over again, mixing the sofas with the chairs and the lamps and the rugs and all of that stuff and just doing that real time work on it, right? But also there is that experience about the back end. And I've had designers say to me that their experience working for another interior designer actually taught them really good systems for managing projects. I have also had interior designers tell me that by working for other designers, they learned what not to do when managing a project and managing the back end of the business. Okay. Also very valuable. But what I'm thinking about now is the experience of the client experience, this experience of customer service. Okay. So here's the thing. If you open your own firm, you might be completely ready and talented to open your own firm from a design standpoint. You might be completely ready and talented from the back end standpoint. You might have really good systems, and maybe it's your nature. Maybe you're a systems Nazi like the Vin Man. Okay. But here's the one part. Unless you have spent any time working for anyone, anywhere, I don't care if it's a health club, if it's a Starbucks, if it's a furniture store or another designer, you probably are a little green in the area of handling customers and handling clients. Okay. And this is valuable. And I realize one of the reasons why it's valuable because, yes, if you open your own firm out the gate, you're going to gain that experience, but it's on your reputation. Okay. It's on your dime. And what I mean by that is you're likely to make mistakes. Let's be serious. I watch the Facebook groups. I'm in them. I often will help with the designers in there. Often I'm just observing and understanding what you're going through. And almost every week there is a post with by a designer who is experiencing a very real problem with their client that is always, I'm going to tell you what, even if the designer is thinking it's about the sofa being the wrong size, it's always about that experience. It's always the problem is really at its root. How do I handle this with my client? The vendor didn't show up and the client's mad. This is the third time the plumber didn't show up. How do I handle it with the client? Or The sofa was delivered, it came in wrong. How do I handle it with the client? They're off the rails. You see, and so what happens is when you work for yourself and you don't have customer service experience on anybody else's business, you're going to learn by trial and error how to handle these things. Whereas, because here's what happens is when you work for a business where there is an owner on premises, or even if it's like a big box store, it's a big retail store of any industry, there's going to be a final high manager that is known to all of the staff and all of the public as the final say at that location. And if you find yourself knee deep into a problem with a customer and you have not handled it well, there is the ability for that owner or manager to come in and clean that up and to save the client and to save the day and to make things right. And hopefully that owner or manager will come to you and teach you and school you and help you understand where you went wrong so that the next time you can do it better. So my point in this is you are getting the experience of being able to make a mistake and learn how to handle it better. And because there is a buck stops there person above you, the client can still be salvaged. Because as the business owner, if somebody wants to come in and tell me, any one of my employees, XYZ, XYZ, first of all, I'm going to be like, that's not true, but that's my inside voice, right? And second of all, I am going to get to the bottom of it and see what is true or isn't true. But none of that is my point. My point is that whatever is true, I can come in and say to that customer, that client, hey, look, I'm really sorry. I went and looked into everything and it was an honest mistake on so-and-so's part. However, I see how it upset you and this and that, and can I do this and can I do that, and can we just kissy face and be done with this, right? But when you own the company and you're newer in business and you make the mistake, it's a lot harder to clean that up, right? It's a lot harder to get everybody out of the drama zone and into the resolution zone because you're part of the drama. And so it occurred to me that that is one of the other benefits for having worked in any business, in any industry, for any length of time, is that learning to handle the client experience. And so when I was talking with Jared, and I just kept saying to myself, how is it possible that he's this calm and confident and, is doing this body of work, and he's so new as a business owner? And then it was like, oh, but you see, he told us he had 10 years experience, both in residential design, but in floral and event design. And when I started to think about the pressure of event design, you can deliver a sofa and everybody can lose their stuff and everybody can be screaming and yelling, but you're eventually going to deliver the right sofa. But like when you make a mistake on somebody's only day that they get married, or the only day that they have their 50th anniversary, or the only day their little sweet petunia turns 16, you got some trouble, right? Like that's a high pressure job. And so I thought to myself, it reminded me again of Erica Ward's episode where she tells us to consider your transferable skills and bring them to your design firm with you. And of course, they're not just the skills that you've learned in project management, not just the skills that you've learned in design and in scale and proportion, but they are the skills that you have learned in people handling. And that's the truth, right? So hats off to Jared. I really enjoyed meeting him, and I'm glad that he shared his ideas and wisdom with us. And I want you to take seriously and really take note of how he's built his firm so quickly and how he is attributing it to the relationships and putting himself out there and connecting with people. You'll remember Laura Thurman said the same thing on her episode. Also, very young designer by the standards of many of us and how long we've had our business, but also very mature, very thoughtful, always makes an effort to connect with the people that she admires in the business. She doesn't say to herself, well, that person probably wouldn't want to talk to me because I'm only 1 year in business. I'm only 3. She just is she's sweet and she's smart and she smiles and she makes a connection, and it's just what Jared does. So I know it's not easy for everybody to do that. I mentioned that in the show, but find your ways to do it. Find your ways to find some people that could be your advocate and could be somebody that would invite you somewhere and open another door for you. And who knows? Like I mean, look at this. He was not on my radar at all. And here Chad James says, looks right at me. Have you heard of Jared Hughes? Do you know him? And I was like, no. He goes, check him out, Lou. You got to get him on the show. So this is a testament to that, to looking around, picking your head up from your desk and looking at your colleagues and reaching out and making friends, attending live events, attending seminars, even webinars. Even at webinars, you can meet people, right? So, okay, so that's it. That's my soapbox on that. I just want to say that every experience that we have is a valuable one as long as we sit and we analyze it and we take the good from it and we really can figure out how to apply the lesson we learned and use it the next time for better, right? Okay, so what are you going to do today? Are you going to reach out to somebody and say, should we have coffee? Are you going to look at your calendar and see if there's an event coming up near you that you could possibly attend? Okay, so decide to do something. All right, please, 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 please don't leave it all in the notebook. You know what I say? I'm helping you turn inspiration into action. This is the thing. It can't sit in a notebook. You have to do something with it. Okay. All righty, guys. Have an excellent day. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.